Yes, hello, I am James Rowlands, and today it's the WNR444. It's AEW Prelude, and I am not alone. And you do know, anybody listening to this podcast, I do love first time evers, and today is a first time ever because on the WNR, we are doing a podcast one-on-one where you can hear my dulcet tones, and it means that I have the pleasure to be joined by Genius Gina. How you doing?
Hey, it's so good to be here. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm ever so excited. Like I said, today is the first time we're going to do a podcast one-on-one. Can you believe it? I mean, you must be so excited that it's just me here.
I mean, yeah. More like I think I'm more just nervous for it just being my first one alone with you, but not nervous for being with you. Just nervous of my own self.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. We are here together to look at AEW here today on the podcast, and it is going to be fun. But I'm still going to sing. Don't think that people listening now think we're going to get into it. No, I'm going to sing first. Well, I say sing. Here we go. As old as time, true as it can be, barely even friends, then somebody bends, unexpected, just a little change. To say the least, both a little scared, neither one prepared, Beauty and the Beast, tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, Beauty and the Beast. Rest in peace, Mrs. Potts / Angela Lansbury. And it's nice we talk about that because our resident WNR beast, it is Gina. So that was tenuous. But
Don't you forget it. Don't you forget it.
I know where my brain...
That's great. And rest in peace to Mrs. Potts. I loved Angela Lansbury, man.
I know. It's just when that song came on the other day, I'm not gonna lie, tear in my eye, and I thought, my God, what a better way to do it. But like I said, today 5 Dynamites and Rampages. So let's get straight into it. A Dynamite, September 14th. We are going back a fair way, and we start with a Grand Slam tourney semi-finals. Thankfully, Mox beat Sammy Guevara. We met MJF's new group called The Firm. How original was that? Jungle Boy actually got a win over Jay Lethal. Powerhouse Hobbs destroyed Diamanto, and Starks came through the crowd and ended up fighting with Hobbs to send him out of the ring. The former FTW champion posed for the crowd but kept it simple. He wanted to look serious and did a good job. So a more serious Ricky, Gina. Are you buying into it?
Oh, for sure. And not just because I'm a double fan of his, but I definitely feel like this push he's getting and the seriousness of his character is just going to help emphasize him elevating himself within the division as a singles wrestler. Because again, as far as where we're at this point, I think like even when he did come into AEW at the beginning of it, he was an individual wrestler, but he was more known as being with his faction, Team Taz. So regardless as to whether he had those singles matches, he was still kind of associated with Team Taz and having them do a lot of tomfoolery to help in his singles matches. This storyline he's got going with Hobbs is really working for them both because it's really elevating them both as singles competitors. So even after this feud kind of ends, people are still going to believe in them both to continue on with their wrestling careers as individuals rather than possibly coming back together.
Yeah, and it's also going to help with Ricky, like I said, the more serious side. If he does actually want to accomplish, something with better titles, will it be TNT title or even the world title? You kind of need don't get me wrong, with Starks, the character is there, but I think sometimes you need that kind of, in matches, I think it'd be fair to say he does muck around a little bit. So to see him more serious getting the job done, I think it's going to help everybody,
Definitely. I'm looking forward to it, and not just because I'm a fan of his, but I actually look forward to seeing Will progress as well.
Well, we get Swerve and Our Glory beating Lucha Bros. I do love Swerve as a heel. The Strong Lee was great, but with the Acclaim coming up, the result was never really in doubt. I don't understand, Gina, why you would have your trios champions lose to your tag champ. Because what's the point? They're both champions. You don't need it.
I mean, I definitely agree with you here. I also kind of just don't understand why they would even put those two in those two teams against each other in a match, regardless as to what it was aiming to do. Like, for me, if you're going to bring in a trios champ belt, you need to keep both sides separate because you don't want them to start bleeding into each other and storylines getting crossed and confused. You can have loads. We have AEW has the biggest tag team division ever, and almost every tag team is so good in their own right. So for me, there you should keep both tag team belt storylines separate, and that includes not putting the tag champions with the trios tag champion in a match. I just don't think it makes sense, and I think they should stay away from that in the future.
Yeah, I mean, why create the titles if you're going to have them in mixing in the same matches, not have enough space? I think this is the annoyance, isn't it? There's only so much space on Dynamite, so you can understand why singles are tag team wrestlers, as we're going to get onto in a little bit, but also the tag champs mixing up where it's going. No, if you had enough time or whatever it was, you sorted it out, you could actually have separate and then build each division rather than trying to, say, shove it together.
For sure. And they could even try and do that in differentiating the Dynamite show to the Rampage show. They could make, Rampage the sole focus of the trios tag storyline and just keep them both separate for now. For me, there's several things that they could do with it. And I just really hope they don't continue in this repeated cycle of putting the trio tags versus the normal tag with an extra partner of theirs, because there's just no point in merging those two storylines together.
No, and this is the thing, and again, another thing, if you're watching Dynamite every week, as you and I do, it's the women's match before the main event. And again, we've got another one with Britt Baker and Serena Deeb beating Toni Storm and Athena. I mean, the former Ember Moon cannot catch a break. And again, this is not having to go at AEW fans in itself, but people go, Ember Moon, underutilised in WWE, will get a chance. What has she done? She's been there quite a while now as well,
Oh, definitely. This is something that I've spoken with Jaxie about so many times because we are both such a huge fan of Ember Moon. She was amazing. As soon as I saw her, the first time I actually saw Ember Moon was the first Women's Royal Rumble in WWE. And I was like, wait, who's this? And that's how I sort of got into watching NXT because I figured she was the NXT Women's Champ. She had to be something. So I loved her so much. But I'm telling you now, every time I see Athena come out at the moment, I'm just like, oh God, here we go. Because I feel like AEW ruined her hype when she first came. Yeah. They should have, if they were going to put her in the storyline with Jade, then no offense, they should have had her beat Jade straight up to make her a formidable opponent. Jade could have won it back easily, a week or two later or something if they wanted to do that. But they just should have done something to elevate Athena's entrance because, to be honest, they've treated her exactly as they have Ruby Soho, who's kind of like a side thing that just comes in and out as and when they need somebody to fill that space, And for me, Athena did have all the workings behind her as Ember Moon to come in and smash this women's division. But for me now, it's so lackluster that I even kind of roll my eyes when I see her coming out because I know she's jobbing out to someone probably.
Well, it's even like the entrance style. I'm sure it's not, but she came with this elaborate wings and they got smashed up in one of the angles. And then she comes out with the smashed up attire. And you're just thinking, that just sums up. Not even bothered to kind of replace that. And like I said, with the Jade Cargill thing, I think Athena debuted one pay-per-view and then they waited 3 months and wondered why, it didn't mean as much at the other pay-per-view.
Exactly. When they brought her back, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I forgot this bitch came in. It's just it's not something that you remembered because they just kept her off again for so long. And it's like, we get it, AEW, you're making all these hires, and don't get me wrong, I am so happy with a lot of the hires that they've done. But you've also screwed over the current roster that you do have, who kind of got you to the spot that you are. Who have been there in the beginning. And that includes even some of the other people that they have previously hired and they've now already come and gone, like Malachi Black, for example,
Yeah, there is a big problem with the women's division, but we talk about people missing from television from one week to the next. One person that doesn't is Chris Jericho, and he was in the main of Dynamite facing Bryan Danielson for the AEW Championship Tournament final opportunity to say. We saw Jericho put Danielson down in the lion table, but eventually switched to just wrenching on the injured leg. The American Dragon was able to get the label lock for the submission victory. This is really good main event. The right person won. But the problem is, and especially with you and I now looking back on the months it's even remember this because we've had another Danielson Jericho match since.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, that match was so good and it was a great main event, and I'm not sad that we got it. But like you said, we've had this quite a lot. I'm a huge fan of Jericho, but I have started to grow a bit not bored of seeing him because he still is entertaining when you do see him, but it's like maybe he should take some time off or focus solely on Ring of Honor or, you know, something else, and just give the time that he's had on almost every show to somebody else who hasn't been used or utilized that much. Yeah. So it's like I said, I'm not getting sick of seeing him because every time we do see him, he delivers great matches and he's very entertaining in just his personas that he plays, you know? So I can't even be mad at the performances we're seeing, but it's also like, oh, Jericho, just be injured 1 week.
The thing is we're going to strap ourselves in because we got a lot of Jericho through. And again, it might be something that Tony Khan uses as a crutch, you know, especially with the whole CM Punk and the Elite situation and Jericho being there constantly. But it's not drawing more viewers, so maybe they're worried if they take him off, they might lose it. But as we saw from these ratings, they actually did like more than 1 million without the Elite, without Punk, because people were actually excited of who was going to be on, you know? Yeah,
for sure. And I think that definitely helps AEW in knowing that they do still have the roster there, even if they don't have, you know, the big five or whoever in place. They know that they can still make it work because they're still getting those ratings.
Oh, about that. Well, AEW Rampage, not much to report on. Darby Allin beat Matt Hardy in a better than expected match. William Nightingale tapped out to Penelope Ford. All Ego, Ethan Page squashed Danhausen, and Samoa Joe beat Josh. Rampage, at the moment in time, is just not appointment TV. For me, I don't watch Dark or Elevation, but this is what Rampage is. You know, it's just like filler matches, squash match.
Yeah, again, I think like with Rampage, they need to have a sole focus for it. So like I suggested earlier about the tag belts, they need to keep those storylines separate. So it might be a good idea to have like Rampage be the host of the trios tag storyline, and even, you know, the All Atlantic championship that seems to be showing up a little bit more on Rampage than it is Dynamite at the moment. So they could solely focus storylines on those, and then that way that will make Rampage feel like an actual legit televised show rather than, as you said, Dark or Elevation that should be a YouTube show. Because the thing is, Rampage isn't a long show. I know we had like a 2-hour special recently, but that's not every week. It's still like a 1-hour show. So if you don't want it feeling like the Dark or Elevation where you're kind of just, you know, training your newbie wrestlers up, you need to make it feel more important. And right now, Rampage doesn't feel like it's important. It feels like a filler show.
Yeah, we're that shallow at that, but like I said, hopefully it's going to improve. So we've got Grand Slam and AEW Dynamite first and foremost, 21st of September. The attendance this year was 12,328. Last year was 18,000. Does this say much about? I mean, because people could say, well, they've lost that many, but last year was kind of one-off, and obviously they've come back this, and it's still one of hours AEW have done this year. So, I mean, what were your thoughts? Do you think it's that much of an issue?
No, I don't really. I mean, we still know that AEW is still on its first legs of its, you know, growing its empire. So to be honest, I think like people read into ratings way too much. I don't personally care what the ratings are. You know, AEW could have the lowest rating ever out of any wrestling platform, But right now I'm invested, and I do enjoy the show myself. So I will still watch it. I wouldn't turn my back on it just because I find out it's got such a low rating. And so for me, it does annoy me a little bit how people compare the ratings a lot and hold them to high standards. It's great to know them, and that's great to know whether they've improved or not improved. But I also wouldn't use that as a judgment for the show. It's up to you what you're interested in. If you watch a show and you're not interested in it, fine and fair enough. Don't come again, please.
Well, this is the interesting thing. Even though it's got a less than, it's still made, I think, $1 million gate because they charge more the prices. And as we've seen with WWE, people will pay those prices, especially the kind of New York area. You know, they can charge anything, and you still get 10 or 12,000 people there. Very interesting to see how it goes on, with other events. And of course, let's not forget WWE and AEW doing weekly shows. And of course, these pay-per-views as well. Interesting to see. But we get Ring of Honor World Championship match. Claudio Castagnoli versus Chris Jericho. And in the end, it was a cheap low blow by the Wizard and a Juices effect that added yet another world title to the veteran sparkling resume. I felt in this match, Jericho was a step behind. And again, what the fuck are they doing? And what the fuck are they doing? Help me out here.
I mean, it's really difficult here because I was also the same. I was like, what the hell are they doing? Like, why are you burying Claudio like that? I swear he's only just got the belt. So what? So I am so confused by that. But another part of me has also started to think, especially with the more recent episodes, that from what we can see with Daniel Garcia as well, with Pure Championship belt, they possibly are going to try to move maybe Jericho's faction as the main ROH sort of team and possibly get them away from AEW. This is what I'm jumping to. I don't know if it will actually happen, but I'm kind of thinking, well, if they've given those two that, then maybe they're going to move them to like the ROH and not show them on Dynamite. I don't know. I literally don't know what AEW is thinking. It was clearly just to add another notch to Chris Jericho's belt. But I just don't think he needed it right now.
No, I think the thing is that with Jericho kind of winning this again, you ask what's happened to Claudio, but you make an excellent point there because let's not forget AEW got started, built around Jericho with the kind of inner circle, and that's the reason they got the TV deal. So maybe Tony Khan is going, look, inner circle, well, Jericho appreciates he can be the face, give me an hour a week on like TBS. You could argue Jericho's a step up from Claudio, but again, we have just talked about this with Athena. Claudio comes in, big head of steam, massive reaction, wins this one title, drops it, and now what? Just go into the shadows of the Blackpool Combat Club, which again, I like the Blackpool Combat Club, but we want more Claudio.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to try and merge him into like the more tag team side of things now with like Wheeler, but I think that will be the wrong move to make if that's what they're aiming to do, because Claudio's just, he's Claudio. He had so much hype. How could you? I still am shocked that they let him lose the belt so soon. If anything, it's made him look weak, not strong. And I'm just a little annoyed by that.
Well, especially when it's like, well, Mox and Danielson in the main event for the title, and Claudio's like, well, I haven't, and I understand maybe the reasons, but it doesn't look good. One thing that was good, though, was the AEW World Tag Team Championship match, the Acclaim versus Swerve and the Glory. We did shit ourselves during it. I will use the collective we. It looked like Max Caster was injured with like a knee, and for that point, I was like, why can't we catch a break? I do not want interim tag team champions, but luckily, Billy Gunn managed to interfere ringside, give way to the Acclaimed, realising their potential, and your new AEW Tag Team Champions. It is the Acclaimed. Gina, scissor me daddy ass. Come on, let's do this.
I mean, I am definitely not scissoring, but I am definitely happy for them. This one was really bittersweet for me because I've got a soft spot for Swerve and Keith, if I'm truly honest, but definitely I love heel Swerve. And I feel like I wasn't quite ready to say goodbye to them as being tag champs. So it was hard for me because at one point I was gutted, but I was also so happy for the Acclaimed because they are so hyped up right now. Everybody loves them. And I definitely think it was their time to become, tag champs and look like a formidable team because they were jobbers for quite a long time. If you think about the beginning of AEW, they did job quite a lot. So for me, I am happy that they've got this. But like I said, it's bittersweet because I just love Swerve, but I do think that is clever. The match itself was great, but I do think it was clever having Daddy Ass be involved as well. It wasn't so much of a heelish move for the Acclaimed, but because they did it to the heels, that was also kind of, I think the fans appropriated it because of that.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Now we wait to see what happens to Swerve and Lee. But with the Acclaim, and this is why, for me, I've always moaned with, like, being an alternative to WWE doesn't mean just giving WWE guys who either didn't get a chance or did feature, give them prominent on there. I understand you need to do that for the ratings, but the Acclaimed are homegrown talent. And like I said, I'm sure you watched them on Dark Innovation. Early days losing and then kind of building their way up, and even the Scissor Me Daddy kind of took them to their next level where Tony Khan was like, I can't say no to this. But it's nice to see homegrown talent in AEW actually reach the top of the mountain.
Definitely. And you can't lie, like, regardless, I thought the Acclaimed were very annoying when I first sort of was introduced to them, but I've actually seen them grow this fan base within this crowd. And like you said, the whole addition of the Scissor Me Daddy, it's merged in so well. It could come across as super, super creepy, but it's done the complete opposite. And that's probably what's also helped hype them up as a team. But again, I got a lot of respect for the two wrestlers because they're great guys. And yeah, I can't wait to see more of the Acclaimed on the top.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Well, we get Ring of Honor Pure Champion Wheeler Yuta join Tony Schiavone on the stage for a promo that was thankfully interrupted by MJF. The Salt of the Earth healed on him. John Moxley and Winnie Regal for a brawl ensued. The arrival of W. Morrissey allowed MJF to get the best of Yuta and intensify his rivalry with the Batball Combat Club. But the thing is, they were cheering MJF so well, it took him pushing Tony Schiavone to actually get reaction. And I thought, I don't know what you think about this, is one way to turn Adam Cole face would be him to come and stick up for Tony Schiavone so no one berates Tony but me. It's on for Britt.
I mean, that would be actually amazing storyline because Britt has such a good relationship with Tony. And we've seen Adam with his heelish way turn around to Tony and give him attitude. But that would have been the perfect opportunity for him to come out and be like, oh, wait, no one picks on him except for me. Because that, in a way, that's how Britt started her relationship with Tony as well. She just gave him a lot of shit in the beginning, would like cuss him out like he was her first rebel before, Reba, sorry. In the words of Britt, she called her Reba. But yeah, he in a way, he was her first Reba before Reba came along. And then she started building that friendship. But it was kind of based off of, hey, nobody picks on Tony but me, okay? I'm the only one who can speak to Tony like this. And so it would be so good to have done that and brought Adam in the same way that Britt did,
Well, this is the thing. Imagine someone coming on this podcast and talking shit to me, and you'd be like, "Hang on a fucking second." That's my job.
Oh, trust me, yeah. No one talks. Even in person at those events, if someone would have spoken shit to you, you would have had me and my sister both there, like, "Hang on, he's our manager, he's our wise man. You better back the hell off."
Well, back in a squared circle, Pac defended the AEW Championship against Orange Cassidy. Cassidy built momentum, desperation set in, and Pac blasted his challenger with the hammer and scored the tainted victory. We have seen this before. Orange Cassidy and Pac, they're staying in the same fishbowl bowl. I kind of noticed this with Dynamite. The same people are facing the same people. Pac, for me, especially as double champ, should be on the way up the card. Let's not forget he faced Kenny Omega, on pay-per-view in the early going. And it just seems like, and again, so on Cassidy or anybody around him, but they've not moved,
Yeah, I agree. I may be biased because I am a big fan of Pac, but I do feel like they kind of fucked up with him in terms of elevating him even more. Like you said, he was a double champ. Pac is such a sick wrestler. He is so good technically, and he's just amazing. Every move he pulls off to perfection. So I don't understand why he's not more hyped up. And I do like Orange Cassidy. I do enjoy his character and the storylines that he's been involved in. But for me, I feel like Pac should have held on to his championship a bit longer. I don't think it should have been Orange Cassidy to take it away from him. So again, call me biased because I am a Pac fan, but I just think he's so technically good right now. And I think AEW need to tread carefully with him because I don't want to lose him like we did Malachi.
Well, this is the thing. And again, it's another match, like especially with Jericho and Danielson, like Cassidy and Pac, if you've repeated within a month, which again, I remember when people used to have a go at WWE for doing that. You know, I know it's weekly, don't get me wrong, but still there like that.
It's true. They need to kind of try and put something different in there.
Well, we see Athena, Serena Deeb and Britt Baker challenging Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Championship. None was successful, though, as Toni Storm managed to get the win. But that wasn't the big news, because after the match, Hayter and Baker and Deeb beat down Storm and Athena until Saraya, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, I know I am, formerly Paige in WWE, made her debut, cleared the ring without throwing a punch, but Paige is all elite. I would have been stoked by this like a year ago, but with their track record, I'm not getting my hopes up, and I know it's horrible.
I mean, I don't blame you for saying that. Right, okay. I wasn't excited when I saw her debut, but that's because somebody ruined it literally not an hour before I was about to watch AEW. Somebody ruined that she had returned, and so I was livid. So already I was annoyed at that. But then I was also confused because I wasn't aware that she was medically cleared. So when I did see her, I was like, but what are you here to do though, babes? Don't tell me you're here to just, be a mouthpiece and be like a Zelina Vega to women. Because if you ask me, that type of role was super cheesy. It didn't work when she did it with the Kabuki Warriors. It was just awkward. And I don't want that for her now. So if she is coming back to wrestle, great. I'm excited to see what she can bring to us then, if she's clearly been medically cleared. But as far as I was aware, she wasn't. So I was like, why are you here?
Well, this is the thing. Well, apparently it's her house, as she tells us. And she's going to start like a revolution. But has anything really changed? Like, we'll see what happens. We hold out hope for Paige. So the main event, the tournament of the Champions Final for the AEW World Championship. Black Belt Combat Club collide, American Dragon versus Mox. And late, Danielson enjoyed one last gasp opportunity to secure the win by way of the Busaki knee and the label lock. Moxley gritted through it, delivered a death ride on the entrance ramp, and put his team out with a bulldog choke to become your new AEW World Champion. It makes him the first AEW star to win the company's world title on 3 separate occasions. Gina, what did you think of the match, and was this the right result?
Yes, it was the right result in my eyes. The match was great. I always enjoy Mox matches. I kind of had a feeling that Mox was going to win it with everything that had happened. I think we had an idea of where AEW wanted to go with their storyline pre-bust up backstage, and they clearly had to change that really quickly. So I think the best decision was to put it back on Mox. I in a way, I don't think he should have lost it in the first place. But I still agree in that Mox should have had it. Again, at the moment, he's probably the most popular champion, aside from maybe Chris Jericho, on AEW. And with the shitstorm that happened, they needed to put it on someone big. They couldn't have given it to just one of the lowers to try and just give them an elevated push and change that storyline. They needed to put it on someone that they knew the people would love and would keep them distracted off of what went down. So for me, it was the right call to make. And the match was really great itself as well. It's so hard to try and remember that far back. So, but I still enjoyed the match. And there were still some times where I was like, oh, maybe Mox haven't got this. But I knew my gut instinct was right.
Yeah, I think Mox The right winner of Grand Slam Rampage. We get Rampage open with Buddy Matthews and Brody King making their entrance, but Sting and Darby Allin attacked them on the stage to get to the match going fully, even got to the ring, and when it looked like the Hills was about to win, the Great Muta made a surprise appearance. He spit green mist in the eyes of Matthews and sent him into Heart, which sent a crasher through a table at ringside. Sting broke free from some handcuffs and hit his finisher to get the win. But I will say, what a legend Great Muta is. I mean, let's just look at the facts. He wrestled Flair at Starrcade 30 years ago. He invented the moonsault, and arguably the first wrestler to have two personas, Keiji Muta and the Great Muta, for special occasions, and one of the first Japanese wrestlers to be known in the US. It was great to see him. As for Sting, bumper's gonna bump, isn't they, Gina, you know?
I mean, definitely, but I didn't really know any of those facts about Musa, so I'm grateful that you filled us in on that, because I'm sure, like a lot of others who don't know him as a legend, wouldn't have known that either. But yeah, that sounds really cool. And the thing is, every time Sting's on your stage, there's not really much that he can do, whether it's good or bad. That he still will always be loved forever.
Without a doubt. I mean, the crazy bastard's going to try and kill himself, but we're going to love him for it, you know?
Oh, yeah, we're going to be supporting him all the way.
We get Action Bronson giving us a live performance of Hook entrance music. I never know I needed it. And they made their way for the ring for a battle against Matt Menard and Angelo Parker. Hook and Bronson scored the win. We're both locked in their opponents in the Red Rum submission at the time. I kind of knew this result when Action was asked beforehand, and he said he's not doing any bumping for anybody. I think it'd be fair to say. Samoa Lowe faced and beat Tony Nese and Josh. The thing is, there's two single wrestlers, and they've put their names together and are calling them War Joe. I disagree. Samoa Lowe is much better.
I love Samoa Lowe. I wish they stuck with that. I thought that sounded awesome.
You see?
I mean, I know that War Joe is kind of like stuck now, but I totally would have supported Samoa Joe.
Yeah,
Samoa
it's a shame. They really, really should listen. Jungle Boy beat Ray Phoenix. This felt long, but like I said, the match was on point. And then Kingston and Guevara for their grudge match. Paul Spanish got delivered a promo, playing into the backstage drama. Eddie managed to hit 3 spinning back fists and a submission for the win. However, he refused to release the hold, so the referee reverses to declare Guevara the victor. The man King destroyed the entire Security King to end the segment. And again, this is not how I'm going to go AEW, but Eddie Kingston is a special guy. There's something about him, and they've not utilised how much the crowd love him, have they?
No, definitely not. And I get why they do endings like this, because it's kind of like you always want the good guys chasing for that win and chasing to be on top, you know? And it always keeps a good storyline going when you have the bad guys being on top, because you just want to see that good guy get on top. But I mean, come on, with everything that had happened in real life and as a work, I think right now that was the time to like let Eddie just have that win. So for the ref to like recall it, it was frustrating as a fan of Eddie. And it is annoying how they're not utilizing how popular Eddie is right now, because if he was in any of the main storylines at the moment, we wouldn't maybe be as sick of Chris Jericho, for example, because Eddie just brings that breath of fresh air. It's just, I don't know. They're almost missing the mark with that one again for me.
There's an unpredictability about him. It's not, and again, I think it might be just quite relatable, because obviously the way he looks, you know, and I know he's had trouble in the past with kind of mental illness and been open about that, and the kind of the way his body is. But you know, it's one of these things where very, very relatable. And Kingston is, and it's just they've not pulled the trigger. And again, it could be something as simple as seeing Punk's involvement, or I could just be making making trouble.
You're just making shit up, James. You're just making shit.
Well, we get Diamante challenging Jade Cargill for the TBS Championship, but she also had rap legend Trina by her side for support. After the initial flurry from the challenger, Cargill caught her flying off the turnbuckle at ringside. dropped on the apron hard. She hit a finisher to extend the streak to 38-0. And I got to say, there was a great catch from Jade, but she nearly fucked herself up. The only problem when a wrestler is still quite green, as it's known, or kind of quite, she leant down with a knee to try and catch her, which again, trying to save the spot. But if you twist your knee, you're out for fucking 9 months there. So sometimes just let the bitch.
Yeah, sometimes you really need to think quicker on your feet and definitely think about how this is going to affect you if you catch at such an awkward angle. Definitely let the bitch drop.
Yeah, we're going to get a t-shirt with that printed on it. We're going to make some money. We see Adam Page attacked on his way to the ring to get his battle royal off to a chaotic start. This battle royal as it was. The battle officially going. The final 4 competitors in the ring were Page, Jay Lethal, and Penta. Hangman and Roosh were the last 2. They had a bit of a stare down for engaging in a brawl, and Page threw him out to claim a victory and a future shot at an AEW World Heavyweight Championship. This had such a WCW feel to it. You didn't have a fucking clue what was going on before this match started. I don't know if you can remember the Battle Royal, but what a clusterfuck.
Definitely. Do you know what? One thing that I do definitely remember about the Battle Royal, it was Jay Lethal. And I'm not Jay Lethal's biggest fan, just because I've heard of how he's been or how he's acted in the past and things like that. So I wasn't always his biggest fan. He's a good wrestler, but he was meh for me. But this match, he shined. He really did. Some of the moves he was pulling off, everything. Like, he just really wowed me this match. And I don't remember a lot of the different spots that happened, but all I can remember is that Jay Lethal changed my mind a lot about him. And like you said, it had a WCW feel, and I definitely was like, wait, who's going to win? I thought I knew who was going to win, but who's going to win? So, no, I really recommend, if you haven't seen this match, to go and see it, because it was still really enjoyable.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something I knew you were going to enjoy would be the main event, which was a grudge match between the new serious Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs. Yeah, this was a hard-fought battle with tables involved, chairs, and a lot of other stuff, with Stark scoring a victory with his finish to finally overcome his former teammate. I got to say, though, the one thing that stuck with me, the shot by Ricky with the light. Hobbs had the light, and Ricky did not hold back when he swung for the fences, as it known. And Ricky gets a win. This can only be a good thing, Gina.
I definitely think that is a good thing, because as much as I love Ricky, I didn't think he was going to get the win. I kind of thought they were going to drag it out for a little bit longer. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy that they didn't, and they gave him the win there and then, but I just wasn't expecting it. So I was even more satisfied when he got it. But yeah, Ricky didn't hold back, but I'm sure that like him and Hobbs both have such a good relationship that they're like, yeah, let's not hold back. Let's just truly try and take each other out.
Yeah, no, if they were friends backstage, then maybe Hobbs was like, fucking hell, man, like, calm down. But like I said, it can only be good for Ricky. We move on to September 28th, Dynamite. The JAS with an awful promo to start. Garcia stood up to Jericho, but when an all in purple doesn't really. Luigi Primo tossing was fun, if anybody's never seen him before. Apart from that, it wasn't great. It led to Danielson beating Daddy Magic, which, again, people listening to that knows the quality. Back and forth promo to MJF and Willie Utah. Moxley beat Juice Robinson. I was really disappointed. I hoped for more. We get Sarai's first promo. It wasn't great. Well, Jamie Hayter's chant. Britt stole the show by saying, look at what we have here, a shiny new toy. Until you earn a little respect around here, you're just a catchphrase. In fact, I put my neck on the line for all elite, and unlike yours, mine can actually handle it. And Sarai's response...
Oh, burn.
And how did he let Britt say that to Saraya? Sarai, with her response being, well, Britt sounds like...
Yeah, they totally just screwed up the narrative a bit there in terms of just having like a great comeback for it. But again, I found myself on the side of Britt and Jamie Hayter, you know? in a way, I'm kind of with them and be like, look at you just trying to come in here and just put yourself on a pedestal, that sort of thing. I would have felt the same. So I slightly agreed with Britt and Jamie here, even though I wanted to be on Soraya's side, you know?
The thing, it's just like, at least, I know in AEW, people don't write their promos, but at least have a look at Britt's and Soraya's to make sure that Saraya, in her second appearance, actually might have a better comeback. But she's moaned about on social media. Or at least
come across more like a badass rather than somebody's mum.
Yes, the thing with Paige is, as we talked about with Kabuki Warriors, and even like with WWE Backstage, she's never been a great promo. You know, like I said, the catchphrase is fine, but when you ask her to talk, it's not.
Yeah, I agree. I'm hoping that as it goes on, it starts to work, but right now I'm just not fully impressed.
We'll see what happens. We get the AEW Women's Championship match, Toni Storm versus Serena Deeb. It's a lumberjack match. I don't know why, but again, this is Saraya changing. Storm put the challenger away with an avalanche pole. I got to say, Toni Storm's finisher looks like and I don't want to be that guy. But that pole, I don't know if she's hit or not, or what was wrong with the Storm Zero. You know, like, simple but effective. There was much.
I agree.
And the amount of time paid, it's like, there's a women's match, but we're paying more attention to women around the ring instead. So what's the point there?
I mean, yeah, it just felt really like random, and it's like, oh, okay, we're getting this, okay.
Yeah, it's a shame, really. But we see Absolute Ricky Starks beat former Ring of Honor competitor Eli Isom. Hey, at least Starks is getting a bit of time on Dynamite before the Chris Jericho show for the Ring of Honor World Title versus Bandido. And to be fair, though, this match was really, really good. We saw the mask of Bandido draping with blood, looked like a broken nose, and Jericho tapped him out with a lion tamer. Bandido's strength was special. The one-armed gorilla press that he did, I actually went like that. It's a good main event to a boring Dynamite, I think it'd be fair to say.
Definitely. It was definitely worth sitting through the whole show just to get to that main event. I've never seen this Bandito before. So when I saw this match, I thought, oh my gosh, this is going hard. And again, you know, regardless as to what we say about Jericho, whether he's on our screens too much, he still gives us some great matches. And this is just another example of that. So, yeah, it was a great match. People should check it out. You should also check Bandito out because I'm really impressed by seeing him for the first time.
Yeah, about that. Well, AEW Rampage, we see Acclaim retain their tag titles versus Private Party and Butcher and Blade. Lee Moriarty beat Fuego del Sol. Jamie Hayter, with the fans behind her, beat Willow Nightingale. Hook took out Ryan Namath. Roosh was accompanied by Andrade, looking to be in the main event bout against the Dark Order Silver. For the match, Andrade challenged Preston to a match, but it never happened. We're going to get onto that in a little bit. Roosh scored a predictable win thanks to a distraction from Jose. Dark Order Hangman Page edged the show by sending Andrade, Roosh, the Butcher and the Blade running. Good old Johnny, I suppose. And then on to Dynamite, October 5th, the 3-year Dynamite anniversary. Gina, did this confuse you? Because I was like, I'm sure we've had the 3-year anniversary this year. And then I realised, I think this is a Dynamite anniversary compared to the AEW 3-year anniversary. But how many special shows do they need?
I mean, I completely forgot that we had an anniversary show for AEW. I always remember that their Dynamite anniversary is at the beginning of October because I remember the very first Dynamite show aired on my birthday, which is October 2nd.
That's fucking
it's exactly. So again, I do remember every year, it's going to be their anniversary of Dynamite. But I had completely forgotten that they did like an anniversary special for just AEW in general. I don't think they need more than that. So please don't be giving me like a Rampage 2-year special because Rampage is still a basic show at this point. I wouldn't put it on the same caliber. So yeah, as long as they kind of maybe just keep it to the 2, then fine, but no more.
You just took me down memory lane. I was thinking about wrestling events on my birthday, and I think I had CM Punk versus Ryback Hell in the Cell, which was not something to get excited about. And
Ooh, right back.
I tell you what, though, I think I had Evolution was on my birthday, so the very first and only women's pay-per-view. You see, that's what we're talking. It's not a
Well,
competition.
see, that's a good start to have. Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, it's not a competition because you also had Raw Quest. So let's not go down that road. We see after a couple of weeks of build-up, MJF beat Wheeler Yuta by submission. MJF was going to use the diamond ring, but Regal brought his trusty old brass knuckles. Now, I love seeing Regal with the brass knuckles because I know he's not fucking around. But did you, like me, get confused with MJF's behaviour? Because he came back to a monster pop, was acting as a heel, and in this match didn't want to use the ring. And he's showing face tendencies now. It's like, what are they doing?
I mean, I am super confused by this. So let me just quickly give a shout out. Seeing William Regal come down with those brass knucks. My guy. I love William Regal. He's just like that proud dad who's like, nah, you're not coming at my boys like that. So I absolutely loved that. But yeah, MJF is really confusing me because, as you said, he came back as his standard heel, but he came back to a massive pop. And then in this match, he showed face-like tendencies. He, like you said, he didn't want to use the ring. He kind of almost went for the handshake. And I'm confused because, A, I don't think MJF should ever be a face, regardless as to how many cheers he gets or not. I don't think his persona should go there and be this cheesy face. I think if they do it, then they need to do it as a piss take storyline, and then him more taking the piss out of himself. But I also don't understand where they're going with this because obviously MJF right now has the poker chip, and so we know eventually he's probably going to go for Mox or whoever has the belt, most likely Mox, to get that belt. And Mox is the biggest face there at the moment, taking out Punk, the Elite, and Kenny. Mox is like the biggest face. So unless they're thinking to turn Mox heel, which I don't think would work because you'd have to turn the whole of the Blackpool Combat Club heel if you want to keep that faction still going. Do you see what I mean? There's loads of chain effect here. So I don't see how MJF is going to go into this championship match not as a heel. So why are we getting this little play on him being a face in this match?
And this is the thing as well, and you made an excellent point, where the faces and the problem with good guys is that they become so bland and it infuriates, especially if someone like MJF who kind of like kissing babies, shaking hands and doing the right. That's not MJF. Just look at The Rock as how to deal with a heel turning face. And he kept exactly the same character. MJF could be exactly the same character as a heel, as a face. The only thing he doesn't need to is shit on the crowd as much, but he can still shit on his opponents. That's part of what MJF's all about, And then you keep the character. And like I said, the chip, it looks like you can cash in it now. Like, I don't know, maybe a briefcase. So will we see MJF literally cash in, or will we see a more face side of him going, I'll face you at Revolution?
It could be either, but to be honest, I just hope that they don't. I don't think, to be honest, that MJF's going to let his character get ruined, but I do hope that they know what they're doing with this little confusion blip, I'm going to call it.
This is the thing, isn't it? It'll be something different on this week's Dynamite anyway. It'll be MJF calling, dad, dead dads again and all this kind of stuff. So, but we see Darby Allin beating Jay Lethal. Wardlow retained his TNT title against Brian Cage. This was good. This was big, meaty men slapping meat, and I always love that.
Yeah, this was such a good match, and again, it reminded you of how good Brian Cage was because he hasn't really been shown on AEW TV for a long time, and if he has come back, he's come back here or there after leaving Team Taz. So this match definitely helped to remind people and remind fans how good he is if they've not been watching him sort of on other platforms, I mean. But this match was great. Like you said, it was just two big, massive slabs of meat slapping each other. And that's what fans want to see sometimes. We all love high flying. We all love tag team. but we don't have enough of just powerhouses just tearing the place down. And this is what that was.
This was really, really good shit, without a shadow of a doubt. I could watch these guys. And again, Brian Cage is another one who has just not been around recently. And I'll tell you something else, Gina. I don't know about you. I get a flutter in my heart every time I see FTR now. I cannot believe... And the other thing that shocks me was how big reactions they get. And I'm not big reactions, but that was before we met them. You know? How popular are they?
I mean, I knew that they were popular anyway because they do always get such hype when they come out. I even noticed, how much more hype since we've met them that they've got. But again, I loved FTR, and I can't blame the fans for feeling the same way. Every time I do see them, though, I do get little butterflies in my stomach. Like, these guys wished me a happy birthday.
Those guys loved both of you, honestly. If we had more time, we could have been on to Heathrow, I tell you. But we get FTR helping Samoa Low from a beatdown. And the AEW Women's Champ, Toni Storm, Athena and Willow Nightingale battled Jamie Hayes, Serena Deeb and Penelope Ford in the Trials match. Can I just ask you a question? Why, again, it'd be wrong, but doesn't it seem like all the women in AEW are friends with each other? Because the amount of tag teams and partnerships that's going on is just off the scale.
Yeah, it's true. They are kind of like, 1 week it's these three, 1 week it's these three instead. They like to chop and change a lot, and we get it. There's a lot of women, and they figured, let's make it more tag team matches between them so that we can include more. But sometimes it's like, well, if you're not going to give us backstories into people being friends and consistent storylines, then we're just going to be like, okay, so these two are friends this week. And it's just like, it's not working for me. It's not. Well, they need to do something else.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to be that guy, but it's like, they all get along. And I'm not saying women hate each other before I get the fucking emails, but it's at least with WWE's character-driven, and there's alliance, due to membership. Don't get me wrong. If we're going to moan about WWE, like Raquel Gonzalez / Rodriguez, how many partners has she had now? She dumped Nymph like a bad smell.
I literally was going to tweet the other day and be like, okay, so Aaliyah's done.
She's out. Shotzi's in.
No mention. Yeah, like, okay, next thing we know, Raquel's going to turn heel and she's going to be with Sonya Deville next. So, yeah, I mean, she's going to turn into the next Natty, because Natty seems to bounce from partner to partner as well. So, yeah, don't get me wrong. It's not just bashing on the AEW women. And it's not even just a case of that. It's great if you want to, like, marry more groups of females together because you've got such a big female roster now. But make it make sense. Put some storylines in there on people having these friendships, coming out to save one another. Maybe that's why they're in a tag match next week or something like that. You can just try to marry it up a little bit better than what they've been doing.
Yeah, well, we see in the match itself, Nightingale got the hot tag and a Dr. Bomb for the pinfall victory. And after the match, Saraya finally got physical in an AEW ring. Yes, the rumours are true. Apparently she's been cleared by the Dr. Sampson and AEW head doctor, and she threw some fists with Baker and Rock with a super kick. But again, I worry, because I think Britt Baker versus Saraya or Paige is a pay-per-view worthy match. But it doesn't mean you have to take off Jade Cargill or Toni Storm because you can only have 2 women's matches on pay-per-view. If we're going to have a 14-match card, give us 3 women's matches,
Definitely agree with that, for sure. And like you said, Jade Cargill actually seems to be doing much better than the AEW women's champions as of late. So the fact that she's not more elevated or in more decent storylines, and sorry if people are going to take offense to the recent storylines that Jade has been in, but they're lackluster. Yeah. And Jade has been coming across as probably the most consistent woman on AEW. So it is really hard. And I'm not going to lie, I'm happy for Saraya that she's medically cleared. but I'm going to probably cringe in her first few matches because every time she takes a bump, I'm just going to be like, oh, your neck, look after it. So I think it's going to be hard for me to see her come back until I'm more comfortable seeing her in a wrestling scene again.
Well, this is the thing. You know they're going to be working over the neck in the match, and it's going to be so fucking uncomfortable because, like, look, I know why, but even when she sells, you're going to start panicking. I just hope they don't do a storyline with Britt attacking Paige and doing a kind of China paralyzed angle, you know, with like neck brace and stretches and stuff. Let's keep it nice. Oh God, and simple.
Yeah, please don't do that. Please don't do that. I literally will hate that so much. So I really hope they don't go with that angle.
Well, one thing we have celebrating here is National Scissoring Day, as we get the World Tag Team Champions Acclaimed and Billy Gunn to the ring. Owen said, "Scissoring is a handshake. We're going to do the first bipartisan scissor to unite this country." Before Strickland's music interrupted, he congratulated Gunn on another top-selling T-shirt that kids can wear and get suspended from school from a new generation, and a match has been booked for the following week. Again, National Scissoring Celebration. It's working, and you know it works from the crowd's reaction. So sell those T-shirts, do everything you can, because like Rusev Day, this will peter out.
Oh, for sure. The thing is, though, it's so popular at the moment, you may as well just milk it for as much as you can. It's so weird because I see a lot of the crowd super hyped to do the scissoring along with, you know, the Anthony Bowens and everyone, but I don't know. I just know for a fact that if I was there, I'd probably be that stick in the mud that's not doing it. But that's just because it's a little bit weird for me. But I don't mind the fact that everyone's so hype about it. But at some point, it is probably going to drop. So at least I won't have any cringy footage of me doing that.
Well, it's just you're waiting for the rip-offs. You know, the other wrestlers coming up with, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, National Pritt Stick Day, or you know what I mean, or something like that.
National Post-it Note Day.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh no, bringing out the spoons or the spooning. Oh god. But like I said, it would be interesting to see what happens. Adam Page beat Roosh after the match. Private Party teased an attack, only for John Moxley to warn them against it. Moxley cut a promo on Page regarding the match for AEW title special Tuesday edition of Dynamite, which is tonight as we speak. He said, like a lot of other kids around here, you say stupid shit and your mouth gets you in trouble, Moxley said. And then the internet went, CM Punk was right. But again, you know, it might be Punk's story, might be Elite's story, and then there's the real story, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm still fine with the fact that Mox is where he is right now. And for me, I kind of have forgotten a little bit about the Elite and all of that happened with them in the back. So for me, if I can kind of move past it because it's not something that's affected me in my personal life, and I can just crack on and enjoy what's going on the show, then others shouldn't let like that affect it either.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting to see what happens. Obviously, Moxley wasn't happy with what happened backstage. You can turn it into a story, but again, it'd be interesting to see how much they can delve into it or not. Back to the action. Luchasaurus squashed Fuego del Sol. Jungle Boy Jack Perry hit the ring, initiated a challenge, and Cage, the Master Manipulator, teased doing it right then, but opted for next week's show in Toronto. And the main event was Bryan Danielson, Daniel Garcia versus Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. This was an action-packed main event. Saw Garcia in the right position late, trapping Guevara in a Dragon Slayer, and seemingly having a match won. Until Jericho blasted him in the Ring of Honor title. With Garcia knocked out, Guevara was able to score the pinfall and build heat for the Hill. But I get your thoughts on that match. But if the rumours coming out of that Dynamite was the fact Sammy Guevara and Andrade had a backstage altercation, and Guevara was in the main event of Dynamite.
Not only that, but he also got the pin and the win. Now, this did really irk and piss me off. Again, I'm going back to my whole point of I'm gutted that we lost Malachi Black. This is how you're going to lose Andrade. Like, I get it. They had an altercation. Why was it just Andrade sent home? Why was Sammy not sent home and given the same treatment? And even if you are that desperate to have Sammy in that match and say, only one of you can be here, so we'll send Andrade home. Why let him get the pin of all things? It's like literally just pouring more shit all over Andrade in a way. And I just thought that was so disrespectful. So, yeah, I wasn't really pleased by this outcome. Didn't take away from the match. The match was good and entertaining, but it just left a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah, and the thing, if the stories are true, Andrade, well, they both were told that there was to be no fighting. And if you have to say that backstage an event, you're not that fucking organised, Tony. I'm just going to let you know. Andrade said, don't worry, nothing's going to happen. There'll be no fighting. And then Andrade in the hallway, he got 2 punches in before it was broken up, and Sammy didn't fight back. And that is why Jericho said to him, you've done nothing wrong, and backed him. But then again, there's a double standard because the Elite, who apparently didn't throw any punches against Punk, were suspended anyway. So Tony has really cooked himself some shit here, unless it's a master plan for AEW backstage.
Possibly, yeah, but I just don't think that it makes a lot of sense. If you're going to do one thing for one situation, you should handle it the same with all. And regardless as to whether Sammy didn't throw any punches, he's been a common denominator in quite a few backstage issues now. Mm-hmm. So don't you think that him being involved in various, he can clearly antagonize your other wrestlers? So in my eyes, I'm not trying to say all the blame should be on Sammy. Again, we weren't there. We shouldn't cast those judgments. But I just still don't think it's fair to treat one wrestler different in this instance.
This is the thing.
If Sammy wasn't involved in other backstage altercations, then maybe fine, fair enough, this could slide. But because he has been involved in many, it just doesn't sit right with me.
No, and this is the thing, and like I said, the double standard, treat all your employees equally, or tell your employees you treat everybody differently. It's we talk about separate dressing rooms, and even something like this, with different cliques in a company, or cliques, as the American will know. So, like I said, and we've seen it before, and with Dynamite being the way it is recently, with AEW as it has been, it just seems a little bit of a mess at the moment, where if you consider what it was like when we were watching it every week and not knowing what was going to happen and being surprised, rather than worrying about what's the backstage news coming out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I do feel that lately AEW has become more popular just because of the backstage issues that have been coming out rather than the actual content it's producing.
Well, this is the thing, and something's got to be done, and maybe Tony Schiavone, as he's Tony Khan's right-hand man now, sorting it out. But if he wants to sort it out, stick Arn Anderson.
Yeah, put it back all on Arn.
Just let the enforcer take this show. October 7th, Rampage, Blackpool Combat Club, Mox, Les Claudio, and Yuta beat Private Party and Roosh. Josh Woods and Tony Nese, who might be the most pointless tag. And I like Tony Nese. I think he's excellent. Look at those abs. But just pointless. Beat Varsity Blondes in a blink and your match. The Acclaimed interrupted Mark Sterling. Sky Blue and Matt and Rain lost to Anna, JS and Tay. And in the main event, Death Triangle retained the trio titles versus the Dark Order. 2 years since Brody's last match. Pac got the as well. And I forgot what we had, Gina. We got a nice little surprise. We got Battle of the Belts 4. Because like I said, Rampage continued. Now, what did you prefer more? It being after Rampage on a Friday or its own show on a Saturday?
I mean, I didn't mind either. I think I was happy with both because it was a show that I was able to watch live because obviously for us in the UK, usually the shows go on past midnight, but I have work throughout the week. So I'm never able to watch AEW Dynamite live. So whether it was on after Rampage or its own show on Saturday, I was happy with either because I was able to watch it live.
Fair play. Well, what we had in Battle of the Belts was Pac. I quite like this as well. Pac stayed in the ring and defended his Atlantic title versus Trent Beretta after obviously retaining the Trios tag team titles. The pole driver from Trent to Pac maybe one of the greatest fucking power drivers I've ever seen.
I literally thought that was it. I literally thought, that's it. He's done. He's done.
How did he take that and survive? Like, I just don't understand.
Because Pac is a beast.
Well, yeah, as I was saying, it's unbelievable. Fair play to Pac for retaining his title. Willow Nightingale, after a couple of victories, that hot streak, put him on Dynamite for a week, and she's earned her TBS title match against Jade Cargill, but she came up short. Jade now is 583 defeated, even 39-0. Now, said she wants to get to 50, and we've spoken about Jade, but she needs a step up in competition. I feel like more legitimate.
Yeah, this is what I meant in terms of they're just not doing anything with Jade, and it's not like she's doing anything wrong. She's actually killing it, but they're just giving her, flies. And no offense, that's not meant to be derogatory. I'm just saying they're giving her the small fry. They need to actually give her some actual formidable opponents. And we thought we were going to get that with Athena, but they didn't. They just jobbed Athena out to her. So I don't know who it is that they'll bring in to take that and dethrone Jade. But right now, they're not doing anything with her, and they need to.
Like you said, in the storyline they've got, we see Nyla Rose stealing the TBS title. This is not a good stealing a title belt and pretending to be champ. How many times have we seen it? And it just doesn't work because we know what's going to happen. Jade's just going to fuck her up.
Yeah, definitely. Like, literally, when I saw the Nyla had stolen it, I was like, wait, we've seen this. We've seen this before. Like, no, don't do this. That sort of thing. It's annoying as well because Nyla is the sort of opponent that you think, oh, Jade and her could have a really banging match. But I think we've already seen it between them. I think they've already done a match between Jade and Nyla before. So it's not like this is anything new for us. And in my eyes, with the way that Nyla's just not really been on the show recently, and now she's all of a sudden come into it, does anybody truly believe that Nyla's got a chance at winning this over Jade?
Well, exactly. And they've painted themselves in the corner there. But in the main event, the greatest tag team in the world, and our boys, FTR, retained the Ring of Honor tag titles versus Gates of Agony. My only note here is, I hope I pronounce his name right, Korn. His abs look like they... I've seen ripped men, Gina, and I look at a lot. But my God, his abs are crazy.
I mean, as a female, you would think that I'd be gushing all over that, but I even think they scare me a bit. I mean, I know I'm quite a small person, but I don't exactly have a flat belly. So even just seeing those, it would be enough to make me just go sit in a corner and probably think about things in life that I eat. But seriously, those abs are insane. Part of me felt like trying to zoom in just to see if he put any like eyeshadow or bronzer in the cracks just to define them a bit more. But no, that's all him, and I'm speechless about them.
Yeah, I walk by him and I would cut myself on them. That's kind of just how sharp. It's like I think they're made of glass. We just kind of how good they look. And don't get me wrong, Drew, you're my boy. But have you seen Khan? Like, work out a little bit harder. try some of that. Like, whatever he's eating.
I wouldn't want to be in a ring with him. If I was in a ring with him, I'd be like, I'm just gonna lie down and pin mate. You can pin me, mate.
Well, I might get him to try and take me down once, but just for fun. Just get on all fours and be like, right, take down, and then.
He would break my neck. He would break my neck with those abs alone.
Well, anyway, we'll move on to, and this is good news for you as well. It's the last Dynamite. Yes, this is the fifth and final Dynamite we're going to cover. October 12th. Time flies when you're having... new AEW signing Renee Paquette kicked off the show by welcoming Toronto's own Christian Cage to the stage. Before we get on to Christian Cage and what you had to say, Renee joining AEW. I know people have been talking about for years, but now with Moxley signing a 5-year contract and Renee joining AEW, I'm glad things are going well for both of them.
Yeah, do you know what, James? Me and Jaxie screamed the place down as if she was a returning wrestler or something. I was so excited to see her there because I didn't actually think it was going to happen, even though Mox is with them. She did say when she very first left WWE, that wasn't the route she was looking to take. So, and again, we know she's gone off to become a mum. She looks absolutely amazing, by the way,
yeah.
for having a child as well in this time. But yeah, I was so excited to see her back, and it was so good to hear her voice interviewing again. I'm excited to see her more on the show.
And another thing Tony Khan did is signed everybody from WWE backstage. Fox created WWE backstage with, of course, CM Punk. It feels like a dream, a fever dream after everything's happened this past year. But everybody from WWE backstage, so that's CM Punk, Samoa Joe, Adam Cole, Paige, and now Renee. He is finally did it. Fair play. But we did mention Captain Charisma coming out, and he vowed that Luchasaurus' victory over Jack Perry was certain as the Maple Leafs losing in the first round of the playoffs. I didn't get it, but the fans didn't like it, so I assume that's not a good thing to say. Christian always bring it around. This was a fun match. We see Perry delivering a sunset flip powerbomb from the apron and through a table. Jungle Boy delivered cage zone kill switch and applied the snare trap, but Luchasaurus escaped, delivered a chokeslam from the top and a burning hammer from the win. I thought it was a great way to start, but I was a little bit surprised that Jungle Boy did lose, because I think Luchasaurus maybe could have done and still can.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what would have worked, whether it would have worked with Luchasaurus losing or not. I think it makes him and Christian come across as more assholes and bad guys with the fact that they got this win. But I also kind of was like, I feel like they need to continue this a bit more, but I also don't want to get sick of seeing this. So I hope they're able to keep the story interesting, because we know it's going to continue still. But yeah, it was a good match. Don't get me wrong; both wrestlers are really good, so I enjoyed the match.
We just have to wait 6 months till Christian's back again. Oh God!
Pretty much.
Sometimes I don't understand. I love long-term storytelling, but fuck me, just have a payoff soon. Anyway, talking of, do you know what? I'm a fan of QT Marshall. I'm going to say it. I'm going to come out and say it. And he made the mistake of talking trash prior to his and Nick Comorotto's match against, that's right, Samoa Low. He paid for it. Samoa Low deposited him on the floor for teeing off of Comorotto, and solid teamwork makes the dream work, and this led to a mostly uncontested win. Afterwards, the victors looked to punish Marshall, but Prince Nana, the Gates of Agony, and Brian Cage interrupted. FTR cut the Hill promo short, arriving amid a fun ovation. Dax revealed they were partner with Sean Spears to face Cage and the Gates Friday night on Rampage. I love FTR, but can I just mention Sean Spears quick? Because when he left WWE as Ty Dillinger, AEW fans and a lot of people were pissing, moaning and shouting and saying 10 gimmick never worked, it's a joke, he'll be more serious than AEW, and look, gone back to the perfect 10 character. What ain't broke, don't fix.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. It was nice to see him back, but for me, I was just more focused on FTR.
Oh yeah, I do. Like I said, every time they come out, I'm just going, ooh.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get butterflies in my stomach every time I hear their music. I'm just,
yeah. Oh, how nice was Cash? Oh, he was.
Cash giving me that big hug. It was so good.
Oh God. Anyway, remember, Swerve Strickland beat Daddy Arse. We didn't really need this match, and Swerve had to cheat. Does Swerve really need to cheat to beat 57-year-old Billy Gunn?
Not. No, he did not need to cheat. I feel like they did it just to emphasize his heel character, but he's already playing a really good heel. He doesn't need to overdo it with the heelish things, you know. So he definitely could have won this just on his own. But I don't know if they were trying to do it to still make Daddy Ass come across like a formidable opponent, but for me, I just felt like they did it for storyline wise.
Yeah, I think, again, though, The Acclaimed are the stars of the team, not the 57-year-old, all right? I know it's daddy ass, but again, but there will be no scissoring for the foreseeable. Sterling has copyrighted it, so we cannot scissor it, you know? It's a shame, but I don't think it's back, as we've talked about.
I mean, they're going to have a full-on battle over this storyline. You know, they've taken the Varsity Blondes name. They've now taken the scissoring. The Acclaimed are not going to be happy because that's their fucking slogan. So they're definitely not going to be happy.
No, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. AEW World Champion Jon Moxley hit the ring for a promo, which he put on over the trials and tribulations of being the title holder and vowed to stay away after next week's title defense against Hangman Adam Page. No one contender interrupted, admit to having nothing after watching his friends leave and his title reign come to an end. Moxley said, being a world champion is a dirty, dirty job and you've got to be ruthless. Last week, he said some champions break straight away and some it takes time. Page come back and said, last week you shattered all illusions I had about you. A nice kid. Mox added, I don't think you've got it in your guts to pull the trigger. Page liked to talk about his friends and said the medicine isn't working, but he's still here. Unlike it, I want to make sure I could come out here and tell you face-to-face, man-to-man. Page said, pointing to MJF as he vows to become the next champion. He said he's still here and ready to defeat Moxley for the title. He will defeat Moxley. It's his word. At that point, I'm going, yeah, go fucking Adam Page. I'm back on the Page bandwagon. My only issue was the crowd chant for MJF, who was looking on in the distance, because this should have been more about Mox and Page.
Yeah, again, I know they're going to give us a great match, and I am looking forward to it. But I'm confused. I know that they're two of the biggest names in the company, so they decided to put those two going against each other. But I don't understand because technically they're both faces, so it's harder to choose a favorite. And in this instance, with MJF having that poker chip and being back here and everybody being excited that he's returned, people aren't even bothered by either of the faces. The fact that there's two of them, they're more bothered about MJF, who is the heel. And it just, like, that's what they've ended up doing here by, you know, making the two faces go against each other. I don't think that they should have done Hangman versus Mox again, because we have had it recently, and I feel like the only solution would be to put Mox against another heel at this point in time. Not necessarily MJF and get it done now, but just put him up against another heel right now. Just because of the whole fiasco with the Elite and CM Punk and all of that has just come. So really, in a way, I just felt like it's not the right time for the Hangman Page match again.
No, and again, if like they're showing us, they're telling us MJF is the end result. So again, what's it matter? I know it sounds horrible to say, but like I said, Page and Mox would be great. But what did it matter if Mox beat Danielson? If the end goal is Mox to lose the title, give Danielson a little run with it. You know, even if it is for a couple of months, let Page win it back or whatever it is. Just it's not predictable, but we know what's going to happen. You know, Revolution coming up in November will be Mox versus MJF. We know that. But again, we want a little bit of thinking, do you know what? They might go with Page. But at this moment in time, as you said, it's just Page doing it. It's nothing else that we've seen.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, about that. Well, the Ring of Honor World Championship, Bryan Danielson versus Chris Jericho for the third time in an AEW ring. Danielson and Jericho battle one-on-one, this time with a latter Ring of Honor World Championship at stake. A grueling physical match saw Danielson rolling late for an accidental collision with referee Paul Turner. Ring of Honor Pure Champion Daniel Garcia made his way to the ring and appeared to prevent Jericho from utilising his belt as a weapon, only to shockingly blast the American Dragon with the Pure title, setting up a win for Lee Lionheart. Yes, Jericho beat Danielson again, and Garcia is back where he was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm still confused about this. It's not that I'm annoyed by the storyline, because they definitely shocked me, and I didn't see this coming. But I'm just a bit confused. So was was the past 3 weeks of work that Daniel Garcia was doing. Oh gosh, did he get sick of that, trying to be good with Brian and be like, nah, that doesn't work for me, I'm gonna go back? Or is it the fact that Jericho has the ROH championship, and because he's the pure champion, again, my theory earlier in terms of making Jericho's kind of team the big bads of ROH over the next few weeks, they could have been like, oh, scrap that, let's keep Garcia with Jericho for the moment still. So I don't know what happened here, whether they just decided to flip the storyline or whether this was actually still a work. But if it was a work, they got me, because I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I'm sure the end goal is Garcia, but like I said, it's Tony Khan, so if he can eke it out for another couple of months, he will. That's what we've seen with AEW, a former AEW World Champion.
Yeah, but he needs to be careful, because it's slightly bordering along the same lines of the Luchasaurus Jungle Boy, where he had betrayed him, then he didn't betray him, and then he did betray him. So hopefully they won't merge the same storyline.
Yeah, as I said, this is the problem, but we get AEW World Women's Champion, or former champ, Hikaru Shida, return to team with current title holder Toni Storm, because they're friends, against Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. Shida rolled up Britt for the win, and the main event, the All-Atlantic Championship match, Orange Cassidy versus Pac. Well, Pac tried to retrieve the trusty ring bell hammer, only to be stopped by Danhausen and then referee Bryce Rimsberg. Rimsberg probably, he thought himself like, I'm going to look the toughest I've ever, like, you're in trouble, mister. It's just like, Bryce gets his moment. The distraction allowed...
The funny thing is he's so small as well.
He's like, all right, mister. Just, I said a pretty mange. Yeah, very, very small. But the distraction allowed Cassidy to recover and deliver an orange punch. He teased using the hammer himself, but instead delivered another punch for the win, and his championship in AEW was 0-8 in title matches leading up to that one, thanks to Excalibur. But your new All-Atlantic champion, Orange Cassidy, the closing sequence was ace. And we talked about the pile driver from Pac. No one takes like the DDT like Pac. He crabbed on the landing, Gina. He crabbed.
Oh my God, I know. I can't even bend like that, and I do yoga. Like, seriously, the way he crabbed down on that, I was like, he's dead. Guys, he's dead.
Well,
like, he seriously can sell. He sells so well, and this is another great thing about Pac. So yeah, truly underrated. I'm not going to say I was crazy about the end result. Again, I feel like Pac should have held on to that All-Atlantic Championship for a few more weeks in my eyes.
But he's still got the trio, I suppose. And
I mean, yeah, but...
Yeah, I know.
Again, I don't feel like he's had it long enough.
Well, this is the thing, in it, and now Cassidy, and it's just, we wonder how long Cassidy's going to have it. Or who the challenge is going to be. Will it be Tony Nese, or will it be someone interesting? It's going to be interesting to see. I keep saying it's going to be interesting what happens, but
won't it?
Yeah.
It'll be Danhausen.
It'll be
Fuck's sake.
Matt Menard and, like those types of people. But well deserved for Cassidy. I will say the only way I could crab is if someone threw me down the... I think it would be fair to say. Apart from that, it ain't happening. We move on, though, to our last show, which is October 14th, Rampage. And I tell you what's fucking mental. That AEW would not give Moxley his entrance. I mean, the music gets a massive pop. But instead, he's just... Who cares about his match with Butcher the Blade? The pulp box is his entrance.
Yeah, I get it. With Rampage, whoever's in the first match usually don't get their entrance. But it's so weird not having Mox's entrance, because it is such a, I want to say showstopper, but in a way showstarter as well. It kind of gets everybody in the mood. Yeah, it was just weird. It was just weird seeing him already in the ring like that, like some jobber.
He just treated him. Yeah, who do you think he is? Like, Roosh? How dare you? Mox and Claudio beat Butcher and a Blade with ease. The Jericho Appreciation Society was out for a promo. That was to explain why Daniel Garcia remained with the group. He basically said, Jericho cheats. That's how you win. that's what I do. And then we see Dalton Castle and the boys. And yes, Gina, you are right. I do love Dalton Castle and the boys themselves. They are the Trios champion of Ring of Honor. And he wants a shot at the Ring of Honor Championship. And Jericho accepted. We then see Nyla Rose versus Anna J.A.S. Rose won with a Beast Bomb. She's quickly confronted by Jay Cargill and the baddies. Cargill laid out the entire security team that tried to stop her, but Rose and her allies escaped up the ramp. We'll be seeing more of that. Ethan Page versus Zaya Cassidy. I mean, talk about a quick match. This was over before it started, and the whole story is Matt Hardy and Private Party's contracts now belong to the firm.
I mean,
who cares?
This isn't working for me. It's just not. It's not captivating me. That's all I've got to say.
It's just, I feel so. I hope you mean Matt Hardy's storyline, not the pod, because that would be a really weird way to.
No. Yeah, the pod. Not the pod. Sorry, the man. Oh God! Look, you've messed me up now. This is just so. Like, it's bored. The storyline has bored me that much that I've lost my whole trail of what I was doing. No, it's just not working for me in terms of like. I love Private Party. I don't think they're on the caliber of being in the tag team title picture just yet. But I just think that instead of like maybe keeping them as like sort of that almost kind of jumping up to the next slot up tag team, they're just kind of like these laughed at jobber tag team at the moment.
Yeah,
it's just not working for me, and they're just kind of, in my eyes, burying them a bit.
Yeah, you don't know how panicked I was. I thought I finally made a snap. we're 9 minutes in. I've never had this rejection.
Bitch, do you think I am, James? I know I can be a bitch, but I'm not that much of a bitch.
To be fair, though, Gina, and I'm going to give you a little bit of credit here. I think you would, because you've got the character that you've got and the balls there. You would wait to the end and be like, do you know what? This is shit. I'm out. Like I think.
Yeah, peace.
Yeah. Thanks, but no thanks. And then Jaxie and Monty are like, what the fuck did you do, man? And I was like, look, it was a show.
Like, you broke Gina. You broke her.
Rambling on for 90 minutes to go, fuck. But no, seriously, even people listening, do not worry, because we have got the main event of the left, which was Sean Spears' team. Well, the greatest tag team of all time, really. FTR to take on Brian Cage and the Gates of Agony. Spears was able to hit the C4 on Korn to score the pin and the win. And then Matt Taven and the duo Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis came out to end the show and challenge FTR. They joined the embassy to beat down the babyfaces until Samoa Low made the save. Put this in perspective, Gina, as well, just in case, about Taven and Bennett, former, as Maria Kanellis said, former Ring of Honor and IWGP Tag Champions. They were Impact Tag Champions just a couple of... Lost their championship. The contracts came up. They lost their titles. And then literally a week later have signed with AEW. So it's good for them. But do you give a shit about it?
AEW needs to stop buying people, man. Use the people that you already got on your roster. Yeah. Like, that's no offense to these two wrestlers that have come in, but no, I don't really care. I'm just like, there are so many people on your roster, and you keep bringing more and more every week. It's going to start getting boring for fans. Like, fans have loved all the surprise announcements that they've had in terms of hiring lately, yes, but you don't need to do one hire a week. And it's just going to start to kind of get too packed. And again, we're then going to start missing out on some of the AEW original wrestlers, because they're not even going to be shown anymore, because there's too many of the newer wrestlers that need to be shown. Or the newer wrestlers will disappear for another 3 months, and then we'll forget that they were even hired by AEW. So when they do come back for their storyline match, which they entered into AEW with, we're kind of going to be already over it.
That is true. Well, like I said, we are on... we're just a couple of hours away from the AEW Tuesday Night Dynamite, which is going to be very, very special tonight, because we've got the Ring of Honor World title, Jericho versus Castle, AEW Women's title, Storm versus Shida, Trios title, Death Triangle versus Orange Cassidy, Best Friends, and of course Mox versus Hangman. So the Dynamite should be good tonight. What I was going to ask you, Gina, obviously, what are your thoughts on Dynamite and AEW in general this past month? Are you excited for Dynamite tonight? And what do you hope as we go towards Revolution?
I mean, I always enjoy AEW to some extent, but I will admit that AEW has had better months in terms of storylines. Um, it's shocking because I am the one who prefers AEW more over WWE, or have done, but I have found myself lately being the other way around. I look more forward to WWE at the moment than I do AEW, and that's because there's so much going on. Sometimes you forget certain storylines, so when they do come back onto the screen, you're just like, oh, I completely forgot this. This ain't done yet. Like it's starting to become a bit messy. I want to say. So I hope that they can kind of reel it back in, coming up towards the end of the year. Of course, I'm still always going to be looking forward to like Evolution and seeing what happens over the next few weeks. But I'm hoping that we don't get kind of a repeat of this past month, because it has been really lackluster in my eyes.
Yeah. Well, probably not the best month to have you on then to do Rampage, but hey,
we did get quite a few Ricky Starks matches, so I'm always going to be smiling at that.
And we had FTR. Worst case scenario, we've got FTR just to go.
Exactly.
Like I said, it should be interesting. Like we've got Revolution coming up in November, so we'll see how it goes. And like we said, we're expecting Mox versus MJF. So, like I said, I've said it before. I'll say it again. It should be interesting what happens. Is there anything else you want to say related to AEW, Gina?
No, not really. I think we covered a lot of it. Just, if any more backstage shit happens, people just remember that there's two sides to every story. Don't be sending hate. Don't be trolling. It just takes up your time to even send hate. So just don't waste your time on it. Enjoy the stories that are happening. If you're not enjoying it, just stop watching for a couple of weeks. But yeah, aside from that, I've enjoyed being on this show and having my one-on-one with you, James.
Well, like I said, it's been all right. It's not been too bad, has it? Obviously, we'll give the full in-depth analysis after, but like I said, I've enjoyed it. I think you've been great today, so it's good to hear your side not have Jaxie jumping down your throat all the time. I'm joking, Jaxie. Joking.
It's true, though. It's true.
It's based on fact. But again, like I said, you even say it with the trolling thing and the comments. People with negative comments, and stuff like this, it doesn't work out. If it's positive comments and people go, what's the point of that? And look what we found. We found each other, so to speak, all because we were kind of positive towards wrestling and we really, really enjoy it. And who knows if people listen to this and you can interact with us on Twitter and each other and actually build a quite nice crew where it's not just negative all the time,
Definitely. And again, like I said, it just takes up more time, and negativity actually takes up more energy from your body. So just do it for yourself. Even if you're annoyed or angry, you don't need to go on and troll and waste your time and energy on that. Find something else that you're positive about and focus on that.
And if you're not going to do it for you, do it for Gina. Do it for James.
Please.
Do it for the WNR. Just do it. You listen, you need help, reach out. Everybody's there, especially this time of year as well. We are we're open to emails and tweets and everything like that. But that is it. Before we get too deep, man, that is it for today's show. Don't forget, across all social media, Twitter at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR. You can find the entire WNR team on the Twitter banner. I'm not just blowing smoke, Gina, but this show has flown by, so obviously I've enjoyed it. But do you want to plug your stuff if people want to find you?
Yeah, no worries. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Purple Pain.
WNR also on Facebook and Instagram, across all Google platforms. Send us an email, the WNRpodcast@gmail.com, and YouTube. Podcast with all latest clips. Podcasts at the same time on YouTube. They do SoundCloud on your phone, and also Spotify and iTunes. We can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that is it. Our next episode will be NXT Update, but do not, because I know you hate me, but I know you love Jackson and Gina, and they will be back with me for the Halloween special 2 week's time. It's the 8th annual Halloween Spooktacular. Can you believe it, Gina? Spooktacular.
I mean, I'm super excited. Halloween is my favorite holiday. October is my birthday month, so why wouldn't it be? Anything Halloween related, count me in.
The only thing, remember, boys and girls, the only thing being worse than being caught by the ghosties is being caught by the ghoulies. But until then, I have been James Rowlands, and I was joined by the genius, which is Gina. I hope I have not put you off podcasting for life, Gina.
No, definitely not. I've enjoyed myself, so thank you for having me.
Excellent. Well, like I said, it has been great. Thanks for the bye.